Hi, everybody. It's Elizabeth from Elpis Astrology at elpisastrology.com. Welcome to all my current subscribers and new viewers. So today I am going to discuss the July 2025 astrology with you. Start off with an introduction, and then I will go on to do your individual sun signs and or ascendants. I suggest you probably listen to or watch for both of them. So what's happening in July? July is starting off with, within days, we're going to have Uranus ingress or go into a different sign. It will go into Gemini. So that's significant. We're also going to have a Mercury retrograde in Leo happen. And then we're going to end the month with a Mercury Cazimi, literally on the last day of July. And of course, we have our two luminations, a full moon and a new moon. So let's start off here. We have that Sun in Cancer until the 23rd of July, and then it's going to move into Leo. We're going to have Jupiter that will be staying in Cancer right up to July 2026, so for a whole year. The other thing that I thought was interesting that a lot of astrologers are talking about is that Mars, that's the planet of energy, action, movement forward, if it's going forward, and it is going to be in Virgo all month. And this really speaks to sort of an overarching energy here of this Mars moving forward, being assertive with regards to what? Anything kind of Virgo. And Virgo is a few things, but my intuition was saying digging up the facts. Digging up the important information is going to be going on as a background energy all the month of July 2025. Now, the other thing, of course, is that it can stand for, that's Virgo, can stand for health. So that's the other thing that may be contentious at this time is issues around health, how we look after ourselves mentally, physically, right? And, the way we eat, what we consume in our bodies, that type of thing. So when we look at 7th of July, going back to what I said at the beginning, that is the day that we officially have Uranus, planet of surprises, unexpected things, unexpected events, great illumination, breaking free, going into the sign of Gemini. I did a whole video on this. I'm not going to go into the intricacies of it, but I will put the link below in the text box if you want to take a look at it. I also go into the sun signs and ascendants in that video. But really what it's doing here is Uranus is shaking up anything to do with communications. So we can expect some probably really big breakthroughs in that area. But it also speaks to, in some ways, a constant change with regards to our neighborhoods that we live in, what we kind of operate in day to day, may have an ongoing change here. For some time, Uranus is going to be staying in that sign for quite a few years. Of course, it's going to be affecting Gemini directly. And so Gemini, you can be looking forward to some big changes in your life as well. I say embrace the change, right? Now, the interesting thing with this Uranus going into Gemini is that, it's an air sign. So we look at, are there any other air signs that are around that are at the early degrees or the first decan of an air sign? And of course, we do have Pluto. So on and off, we're going to have Uranus trining Pluto. And so this is a positive energy, right? But the other thing it's going to be doing is Uranus will be sextiling both Saturn as well as Neptune. And these are all three of these outer planets are interacting with Uranus kind of during the same time period. Certainly, I would say within the next, because Uranus does go back, these other planets do go retrograde, up to 6 months of the year. So we know Uranus will go back into Taurus as well, and then come back out again. And then sextile Saturn, sextile Neptune, and trine Pluto. So I would say we've got this type of energy, which is pretty powerful in terms of change, in terms of transformation, in terms of not only dissolving certain things that we've learned to accept, maybe since we were born, and these would be institutions of any sort, right from churches through banks, through our government, are going to be dissolving. And then we'll be given opportunities, though, to bring in new transformational structures. Or at the very least, we're going to have the abilities and opportunities to change the current structures that we have. And I talk about this not only in the collective to everybody in the world, but also to us individually as well. And we're looking at, of course, Saturn as well as Neptune in Aries, Uranus, as I mentioned, in Gemini, and of course, Pluto in Aquarius. So we come up to our full moon, and our full moon is going to be in Capricorn on the 10th of July. Happy birthday, shout out to my brother John. That is his birthday. So this is going to be some big spotlight put on him, as well as other folks that may have something around 19 degrees of Capricorn, 19 degrees of Cancer, right? Because this full moon has the moon in Capricorn, but then, as every full moon, we have the sun in the opposite sign of Cancer. So the Cancer placements would be it's exactly 18 Capricorn 50, so that would be 18 Cancer 50. So that's why we would round up to 19 and then go back to 18 as, really exact degrees in terms of effects of this. Now, the interesting thing is I sometimes look at culminating stars on moons. And in this case, we do have a culminating star, Acubens, that is going to be right around this 19 degree mark of Capricorn. So this puts an energy of emphasizing solving problems in a logical way. But it is also associated, depending on who you want to read that defines this star Acubens, it's associated with liars and criminals. So some of this may come to light. Go back to what I said at the beginning when I was talking about this energy, this persuasive and assertive energy of Mars in Virgo, digging up all the important facts. That goes along with this star. So we can expect some of this digging up and big illumination at this full moon on the 10th of July. The exact time is 1:37 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Now, the moon trines the south node in Virgo, and then, of course, the north node in Pisces will trine the sun and sextile the south nodes. So we see all at once, both the moon and the sun are bringing in something we need to let go of and opportunities for us to bring in some new things for our destiny path. Now, I saw this particular setup of the sun and the moon interacting with the north nodes and the south nodes as this moving the chess pieces of the collective destiny. But then we can take that back to our personal life too, especially if you have something, as I mentioned, the degrees of the moon and or the sun in Cancer, but also the south nodes and the north nodes in Virgo and Pisces, respectively, towards the 20-some degree mark, right, of their respective signs. Now, we also have, as I mentioned, this whole Saturn Neptune in Aries, and of course, they widely sextile Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Now, these are all big setups for positive change, at least positive opportunities for change with regards to either our individual structures or the structure that we operate in, right? This could be an invisible structure that we have hanging over us that maybe needs to be transformed. And Pluto forming that sextile to the Saturn and the Neptune can really bring in this positive transformational energy. It tends to do things more slowly, whereas Uranus kind of acts more immediately. But this is a very positive background energy for us to have to transform positively our structures that are in our lives. And also with the Neptune part, we may, even as a collective, start changing our philosophical beliefs, our religious beliefs, that type of thing, can undergo a positive change here too, with the effect of Pluto on Neptune in particular, right? And so this whole energy sets up a dismantling and dissolving type energy with these planets, right? Now, our Mercury retrograde in Leo is going to start on the 17th of July, and that will be at the 15-degree mark of Leo. So that's bang right in the middle of the signs. There's 30 degrees in every sign. So 15 is right in the middle of it, right? It's actually at 15 Leo and 34 minutes. And it'll go direct at 4 degrees of Leo in August. I'll cover that in my August video. It exactly sextiles Venus in Gemini. Yeah, I think that's nice. So this says to me at this Mercury retrograde, there may be some news that comes out here that's going to be important for us. Now, it can be something like the royal family, for instance, and that could be any royal family. Typically, we always think of the British royal family, but they may have some discussions going on that are initiated around the 17th of July, and in August, they may make some announcements, that kind of in a superficial way. But this can also work with us too, depending where it falls in your sign. And I'll cover that when I get into the sun signs and the ascendants for you. But certainly, Leo, this is obviously a Mercury retrograde in your sign. It suggests that there's going to be some negotiations during the month of July. And I would say these are going to be very important. They may have something to do with money, right? Because we've got Venus there exactly sextiling as that Mercury goes retrograde in Gemini. Gemini is the planet of communications. It's also about working with others, you know, because Gemini is the twins. So I would say for those Leos that have something that may be coming up mid-July, where it's a negotiation, this could be very positive for you. Now, the other thing that this can bring up too, especially linking with the Gemini part in Venus, is that you could have a writing project. I'm talking now individually, perhaps. A writing project comes up as important, where you have to go back and figure some things out. Maybe put out some communications to get some feedback of some sort to make this a better production or project that you may be doing here. All right, so then we move on to a moon conjuncting Chiron at that time in Aries, but squaring the sun in Cancer. We're also going to have Mars conjunct the south node, and the sun, which is going to be in Cancer at that time at the Mercury retrograde, will widely trine the north nodes in Pisces and widely sextile Uranus, now in Gemini. So there are other things going on at this Mercury retrograde that are kind of challenging from the standpoint of the Chiron and the moon. This is the people being unsettled about something. So I'm taking this to a collective level with that square to the sun. It's like they're disagreeing with those in authority. And the sun, transiting sun, can also represent a male. So this may actually work out to be a male. But with the Cancer influence here too, I think this is in particular in reference to our homeland. But individually, this could actually involve our families if you've got this setup here, right? And then again, of course, we've got this Mars acting in terms of conjuncting the south node. It's saying, you got to let go of this. It's almost like I get this feeling of we're holding on to something that we need to let go of and instead embrace a new path ahead. And in Pisces, that's a very spiritual type thing, right? Very spiritual. It's compassion. So this Mercury retrograde is also maybe going to bring up something that's a compassionate type of situation that we need to pay attention to. And it may involve that Chiron in the healing of the people. Yeah, I'm getting this feeling of the healing of the people here. And when we've got those wide trines and sextiles with the sun, with the north node, as well as Uranus, there could be something unexpected that comes through here that's very positive. I'm thinking here positive messages being put out by perhaps a male that has great compassion. So that's all to do with the Mercury retrograde. On the 24th of July, well, Leo, you've got your new moon, and it's going to be at 2 degrees of Leo, 8 minutes at 12:11 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And it will widely conjunct Mercury, that's also going to be in Leo, but it will be retrograde at that time, and it will be at 13 degrees of Leo. So it's kind of a little bit of a damper in some respects when we've got a Mercury retrograde on your new moon. And so this is really saying that there may be some things that you're going to have to review after the newness. This is in particular for Leos, of course, or if you've got Leo as an ascendant around that 2-degree mark, which is where the new moon and the sun will be at. So it just puts a little bit of a delay, I think, on some newness. If there's some folks out there that want to make something new at this time, especially as it relates to Leo things, which is on its own kind of creative projects. It's also, for some folks, it may be a new love comes in at this time, but maybe there's a miscommunication or literally a missed communication. Leo also can represent children too, but Leo's also about having fun. And so this new moon does usher in fun. Let's have some fun here. But it also says, you may have to go back and review some communications of some sort and make sure that they're clear, especially as it applies to any creative project, a new love in your life, or your children. Now that moon and sun will be opposite Pluto. And so this is very, very powerful. This is asking for transformation. It's asking a lot of this new moon because it's saying, I want you to transform these things. And the things Pluto wants you to transform are the ones I've just spoken about. Transformation of a love situation, transformation of children, transformation of a creative project, transformation of having fun. You know, a lot of us, especially in the USA, just work and work and work. And we don't, make it a priority to have some fun. This new moon says, please do that. Now, the sun and the moon, as well as Saturn and Neptune, are going to be forming a sextile. And they're going to be forming a sextile with that newly minted Uranus and Gemini. Wow, this is super positive. This is with the Uranus influence here. This is some unexpected, surprising, probably information coming through. Now, this could come through a few ways because Uranus rules in many respects, a lot of things, but in terms of things related to our Earth, it's what is above the Earth. So there might be some really surprising, unexpected information coming into us about scientific discoveries. Typically, we're talking about above the Earth. So maybe NASA will be producing some fabulous pictures here or more information that provide us with a new way of seeing old structures, that's Saturn, in a new way that's more truthful. That's the Neptune part, right? At the very least, I think this could bring in some real new understanding of some structures that we have in our life. So at an individual level that may operate, but also on a collective level. And religion could be brought in here and philosophy again. I know I spoke about that a little earlier, but this is unexpected stuff. And, with that sun very much involved here too, and as I mentioned, that sun can represent a male. This may come through a male, this unexpected, but the sextile says it's going to give us an opportunity to change, right? This is a change moment for us at this new moon in Leo. And of course, Pluto, even though it's a number of degrees into Aquarius, it will widely trine that Uranus too. And so again, we're providing this positive energy with the trine to transform something that is bringing us enlightenment. That's another thing that goes with Uranus, but it's also helping us break through. Now, because that Uranus is in Gemini, I'm thinking on a collective level, there may be a gigantic breakthrough in some kind of communications that has been really held back. And the Mercury retrograde, as part of this new moon, says we're going to enter into negotiations now. I want to cover a little bit I don't often cover generational transits, but having seen this new moon at 2 Leo, it reminded me that there are people who were born with Pluto at 2 Leo. So I would suggest that you get your chart, everyone that's listening or watching here, and look to see, first of all, where your Pluto, your natal Pluto is. And then secondly, I also want you to look at where your Uranus is. And then thirdly, where your Saturn is. So these are all natal placements, because that's what I'm going to be speaking about next, is the effect of those natal planets being activated here by this new moon in Leo from a generational standpoint. So I'll start off first with those that were born with Pluto around 2 degrees of Leo. That's going to be, and these are approximate, you can put in your own comments here if you like. It's going to be based on your own natal chart. But generally speaking, people that were born with Pluto at 2 degrees of Leo were born in August 1940, February to June 1941. So what's interesting is it's a combo here, right? We have that new moon that I just spoke about. That will be conjuncting your Pluto, right? But we also know that we have Pluto in the universe across from that new moon, which is going to be Aquarius. So we also know that transiting Pluto will be opposite to your natal Pluto. And then that new moon will be activating this. So it's important for you to take a look at, I would say, where your, for this group of people, see where what house your Pluto, your natal Pluto at around 2 degrees of Leo, what house it's in, because there's going to be a big activation in that area of your life. And also the opposite sign as well. Well, we know the opposite sign, but the opposite house, right? That's what you want to look at. And then if you've got any conjunctions around this, I could go into trines and oppositions and all that, but I'm going to just keep it real simple and say if you've got something, say, conjunct your Pluto, that's at 2 degrees of Leo natally, then that's going to also be adding in another element here. I mean, you can always reach out to me and we can maybe set up some kind of session where we can look at your chart for you. I do have all my services below if you would like to do that. All right, so that's one group of people. That's a generation of people here we're talking about. Now, we've got those folks that have Uranus that's at around 2 degrees of Leo. Okay? So those folks were born October to December 1955, the latter half of July 56, and April 57, right? Now, there are going to be dates on either sides of those two. As I said, look up your natal chart. So that's interesting. So now we're talking about Uranus, planet of change, and unexpected events being activated here in those folks that I've just spoken about by the new moon conjuncting it, but also having Pluto opposite. So again, go back to where these two different things are in your chart. Namely, we want to know where your Uranus is, what house it's in, right? Because that's going to be activated with regards to some new movement forward in a big way. Now, I'm thinking also, especially with those that have, their Uranus at 2 degrees of Leo, there may be some of those folks, these are the baby boomers, getting into the latter half of the baby boomer folks. And these people may be rising up here and demanding freedom, Uranus, right? And Uranus can also speak to freedom for the people, So there may be a lot of that group of people that were born during that time, literally rising up at this new moon in Leo that will be conjuncting that. Whatever it is for you, It will be bringing in a new start for you, and it may come in an unexpected way. You may even get it through enlightenment of some sort, or some unexpected change comes your way, depending what house it falls in, right? And of course, like I mentioned, you're going to have Pluto opposite your natal Uranus. Uranus is going to be conjunct the new moon. Yeah, pretty exciting times. I saw this as very exciting. I really did. Just be open to change, I would say. Now, the other group I wanted to talk about was those folks that have Saturn in their natal chart at 2 degrees of Leo. And those folks are the last week of June 1976. But again, go back and look at your chart. I would say we'll take degrees on either side of it. We can probably go back to 1 degree and up to 3 degrees of Leo for this as well, and for all the ones that I just spoke about. But now, in this case, this new moon is going to be conjunct your natal Saturn. And we're going to have Pluto opposing it. So this really says there's going to be some new start with regards to these structures that you have in your life. Now, for some folks, you could have an unexpected elevation where you are seen as an expert now. You achieve some status of some sort, right? Because certainly Saturn can represent rewards and awards for hard work. So there's going to be some folks that were born in 1976 that have this aspect that may actually become an expert of some sort. And maybe we'll even hear about them in the news, some announcement of some sort here. All right, so we end on the 31st of July with that whole Mercury conjunct the Sun, which is a Cazimi. It is at 9 degrees of Leo exactly. So if you do have something at 9 degrees of Leo, there could be some very important message that comes in for you. Certainly when we look at Mercury, we're talking about messages, right? Now, the messages could come with regards to anything Leo-like as well. So we're not only talking about the house this falls in for you, especially if you've got something around 9 degrees of Leo, but also Leo-related things. And again, we're talking about royalty potentially on a more collective level. We're talking also about anything to do with children, perhaps. A new love when we're looking at individuals, right? Having fun as well. Maybe there's going to be some wonderful fun event that comes up at this time. That's very transformational for folks that have something around this 9 degree Leo. Certainly, this is a transformational message of some sort that's going to be going on here. Now, when we're looking at Trump, he has an exact conjunction with his Pluto with this Cazimi. So I would say there's some important information that may either pop out of his mouth or be delivered to him around the end of July. Whatever it is, it's going to be very transformational for him personally as it conjuncts his Pluto. I looked up the actual Sabian symbol for this Cazimi, and it talks about a glass blower shaping beautiful vases. And so this refers to deeply felt emotions. And certainly from a standpoint of Leo, Leo loves deeply, right? It's a very loyal sign. And so this also gives it a feeling of that too at this Cazimi, that there may be some folks here that have some very deeply felt emotions. Hopefully those are positive, and are surrounded by love, maybe new love for some folks. Now, when we look at the August peak, we have Mercury going direct at 4 Leo. We've got a full moon in Aquarius, a new moon at 0 degrees of Virgo. Venus is going to spend almost all of August in Cancer. And the Sun and Mercury will be in Leo. Yeah. I also wanted to mention, I know we've got this whole Jupiter in Cancer. I've done a video on that too, put the link below. But I did want to point out something too for August. When we get Jupiter getting to about 13, 14 degrees of Cancer, it conjuncts a very important royal star called Sirius. And so that is going to happen the second week of August, 13 to 14 degrees of Cancer. So I'm just thinking, and it's a very beneficial, benevolent type of energy. So I just wanted to give you the heads up that the second week of August could be very good for some folks if they do need to have some benevolent energy coming in for them. I'll talk about all that obviously in my August video, but again, and I like to give you a heads up. Okay, I'm going to have a couple of events coming up this year as well. I will go back into my text box when the exact events are announced, and I have a link for you. Both these events will be in San Diego, and they will be at the San Diego Astrological Society meeting and place. This usually happens, there's a volunteer event called the Astrological Bazaar. It's a volunteer event that a number of astrologers and metaphysical type folks volunteer their time. You as the public get to come and pay a small fee and basically get to see a lot of people. I will be doing astrology as well as tarot. But if you want to come and just meet up with me, we can maybe do that. That would be a lot of fun. I'll be taking pictures of everybody that does and put them on my my video as quickly as possible. I had this happen last year. I had so much fun with many of my viewers coming to see me. There's another time you can come and see me too. That's going to be September. Typically, this is going to be the first week, the first Friday in September. And I'm going to be talking about decans. I'm going to be bringing in decans next when I speak to the astrology for the individual sun signs and ascendants. But that's the talk I'm going to be giving. Like I said, it's usually the first Friday in September. It'll be a talk there at the San Diego Astrological Society. It'll be live. I will be filming it as I did last year and put it up as a live event for folks to look at afterwards. It's usually a 2-hour or so type event. So I'm looking forward to that. Please come out if you want to. As I said, I will keep things updated as I can and put out announcements as I have them with links for you to go to. All right, let's move on to take a look at your sun signs and or ascendants. I suggest you look at both. Start off with your ascendant. That will give you the area of your life. And then go into your sun sign just to gather a few more pieces of information because the sun is one of the most important things in your chart. So Scorpio, that full moon in Capricorn sextiles your sign and involves your third house. This is super positive for you to wrap up some kind of communications. There may be some Scorpios that are, say, working on literally putting some structures together that are to do with the internet or some kind of communication system or a way to communicate, right? SOPs, that type of thing. Could all be wrapped up at this time in a very positive way for some Scorpios, for sure. It could also be a time where maybe some Scorpios maybe some of them are traveling nurses that are going around actually giving presentations about a certain thing. That third house says we can wrap it up because it's a full moon. And maybe for some that are traveling short distances, you get the opportunity to stop doing that, and that's a positive thing for you. For others, this could literally be a writing project that gets wrapped up. But the writing project is going to be something Capricorn related. It's related to structures of some sort, rules and regulations potentially, that type of thing, right? The third house is also our neighbors or neighborhood, as well as our siblings. So there may be a lot of communications that's been going on that are wrapped up, and maybe they have something to do with putting structure in place of some sort. And you see the end of it, right? Now that new moon in Leo squares you, Scorpio, and involves your 10th house. And so there's probably some Scorpios that want to start a new career, and you have a few challenges put in your way. Now, sometimes these challenges are self-imposed, and it's you going up into the next level of a career, and you're reticent about it. That square can put that in too. It can also put in a delay. Oh, you thought you were going to be moving into this new position in a week's time, and they say, no, this is going to be delayed for a couple of weeks. So that sort of thing can happen at a square aspecting your 10th house, for sure. The other thing is that you want to start a new career, and there's some delay put on that. Maybe you got to take a certification of some sort, and that's been delayed, or you have to do one more step to get there. The square can also put in challenges from other people. You want to make this new start, and somebody's saying, not so fast. You don't have this certification. You don't have this degree, whatever it is, right? So I would say for those Scorpios that are looking to change their career, do your due diligence with regards to what's required of you to shine at that time and get that new career going, right? Now, the new career may be very Leo-oriented. It might be something to do with creativity, just generally speaking. Maybe you being the purveyor of creative projects for your company. And in fact, that square could put a lot on your shoulders, and you're realizing how much that you have to put effort, you have to put in here that you didn't think you would have to put in. But it can be an adjustment. That could be all it is. I mean, Leo likes to shine. It likes to be on the stage of life. And some people are born naturally to do that. Some people are not. So there's going to be some Scorpios that literally have to get on that stage. And they're finding this challenging, that it's not natural to them. It's okay. I personally went through this myself. I would be the last person to either speak up in a group or certainly get on a stage and do presenting. Certainly you would have never seen me on a YouTube video in the past. And so I had to overcome all that. And it really was being extremely well prepared, practicing in front of a mirror, recording myself, including my voice, and really working hard at being the best I could be, and not being too hard on myself. So for those Scorpios that are in something to do with that, take heart. It can happen. It's just practice, 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 and being well prepared for any questions that might come your way. And also being well prepared that if you don't know the answer, what you're going to say. Okay, I know I'm speaking to some Scorpios there that's going to be important. You've got a Cazimi at the end of the month that's in Leo too. There's a Leo retrograde going on as well on top of all this stuff. So I would say, Scorpio, don't get disheartened if there are some negative things happening or challenges in your career. I would say look towards first that Cazimi that's going to happen on the 31st as some big enlightenment for you, but also in August for that Mercury retrograde to go direct. Take care, Scorpio. All right, folks, so that's the end of my take on July 2025. I always love to hear from folks. Please leave your comments. Reach out to me if you want your chart done. I do a combo, a nice combo, pre-recorded $50 type activity for you, which combines your astrology as well as a tarot card reading. It's, I think, pretty good money for what you're going to get for it. I like to hear from folks just commenting. Let me know what happens. I would like to hear, especially from folks towards the end of July when we have that Cazimi, what kind of things come up for you. If you feel you would like to relay something to me, I'd like to hear it. All right, everybody, please take care of yourself. With that new moon in Leo, Leo is all about love. So I'm beaming love out to everybody. Take care and bye for now.